So yeah, I know, but it was fun. I think you see what's tended to happen is after I finish the fourth one each night, I go and find out what the hell's been going on YouTube while I've been doing the Hangouts, and there's always been some fucking drama going on, which I then catch up on. So that keeps me up for another, 3 or 4 hours.
Well, it's been a really drama-rich week, that's for sure. I mean, I can imagine you've got so much to sort of dig into. I mean, I generally try to avoid it, but I mean, it's just been one of the biggest cluster fucks of a week I've ever seen. So
yeah.
It's almost like watching a car wreck in slow motion, or sort of the morbid curiosity you get when you drive past a car wreck, when people slow down to take a look and they don't want to be taking a look, but it's just morbid curiosity gets the better of them. And that would be probably this week.
Yeah. I mean, there's a sort of mix of genuine human concern for the people involved, and also some contempt for some of the people involved, mixed with just sheer, spectator sport sadism, because it just goes on and on. It gets worse and worse. I mean, for anyone who should we name names? I don't know.
I think we could just go on as we are. I don't think we even.
I mean, we're talking about this drama with the skeptic community centering around Kraut and Tea and various other people on this Discord server. I mean, God Almighty.
I think you should probably use the correct name. I think it was the task force is what it was titled. The task force is how they titled it. I'm laughing so hard I'm starting to snort.
I mean, I remember when this whole thing started with Rage After Storm and the Andy Barsky stream back.
Right, I remember that as well.
When was that? July?
That was in the summertime.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
June, July,
I remember
something like that.
Yeah, because I remember I made my video about it and I was sweating because it was so fucking hot. I think it was the height of summer. And that was annoying because then various people said, oh, look at him sweating. And that is kind of like a weak point. But of course, that was all, that was desperate, because the fact is that I'm confident that what I said in that video was true and that it hit home and they really didn't like it. Bunch of hyenas or children sort of sadistically zeroing in on this girl, Rage After Storm, and I've got, of course, the big fucking joke is that they call themselves objective and skeptical and logical and rational, and yet there they were being completely irrational and unobjective and unscientific.
Well, I think that's how they've garnered for themselves the reputation of the skeptic TM community. I mean, it's just, I'm not one to generally wade myself into any of this sort of YouTube drama, but I mean, this has just been ridiculous going on for 6 months. And I would agree with you. There is no skepticism, there is no inquiry, and there's honestly very little intellectual curiosity, because they've already come to their conclusions before they've even heard the arguments. And that doesn't really sound like skepticism to me. It sounds like ideologues. And in that sense, the ideology that they're trying to push is no different from any other cult. They've already got all of the answers. And Rage After Storm is a very good example. If you are a heretic to their ideologies, you will be dealt with. And they dealt with her severely. I mean, the way this girl was treated. And the one thing too is, that particular stream, I wasn't familiar with almost any of them prior to that stream, and a lot of them seem like good people. Most of them, everybody wants to see themselves as a good person. I don't think anyone's evil, but the actions of that stream were reprehensible, and I think watching that just pretty much sealed the deal for me of what the skeptic community is and what the skeptic community believes in and what the skeptic community will do to those that disagree with their dyed in the wool ideology. And, that having been said, the way that it's unfolded since is almost a comedy of errors and a tragedy to boot. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that the two things are the two things that I would say about the skeptic community is that they are it's a social scene, and it's very primarily a social scene.
It would
And I
seem so,
suspect I would suspect that the people involved in it were not very popular at school. They were sort of probably a bit oddballs, and but now they've got this thing, and it means and that's why I think it means so much to them. And so they're desperate for social acceptance, basically. So
and probably social approval and making sure that they're the ones giving the social approval. You know, for example, I'm just reading a comment from Blonde in the Belly of the Beast, and she's saying something along the lines that Kraut called her a white cunt hair bitch or something. I mean, this is not the way you talk to people. You know, this is just not the way you deal with other people. I mean, this is just, it's, again, I don't want to use the word overly, but it's reprehensible to talk to people that way in such ways.
Oh, I mean, he said similar things about Rage After Storm. He called her
a Nazi queen bitch,
little Nazi bitch queen. And then he said to who was it, Aiden? He said, "Shut up!" In this horrible.
I saw that in the Warski, the recent Warski stream. Are you talking?
Yeah,
yeah. It was actually the first. It was the first words uttered. Yeah, and I wouldn't have commented on this drama at all, other than the fact that my name was and information were being collected on me on that Discord server, the task force, you know, in quotations, TM, you know, copyright the task force. And, you know, my name is in there, and I have not ever spoken to any of the skeptics. I've never spoken of the skeptics. I've never interacted with the skeptics, yet there I am. And the funny part is what I understand, talking to some other YouTube personalities that I won't name, that that Discord server was, when it was being told that independent third-party people could look through it, that it was deleted, everything in it. I mean, this is not, I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire, and this stinks. You know, to high heaven.
Oh yeah,
you know,
they misspelled, just for the sake of a cheap shot, they misspelled your name, Pigeon.
Oh yeah, I saw that, man, with a D. I mean, Jesus Christ, and they misspelled yours.
I mean,
yeah. Oh, it's too good. Yeah. So yeah, as I said, a comedy of errors, you know, run by a bunch of Keystone cops, or, you know, trying to play detective, it would seem.
It's very strange. I mean, but to get back to what I was saying, I think they're obsessed with social acceptance, and this is why, especially Kraut, and you know, he's now this cult leader. He's got these lackeys, these sycophants, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's like some sort of medieval kingdom, a fiefdom, and they oh god, I don't know what else to say about it. It's just fucking ridiculous. You've got to remember that this is all about, you know, internet drama, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it does matter, because this is it's a battle. It's a battle of ideas, and you know, I think it does have ramifications, repercussions further down the line.
I think what it is it comes down to the skeptic community refusing to accept biological essentialism. Their current paradigm of hyper-individualism is based on this crazy, insane mental gymnastics that they have to perform in order to explain the different outcomes of people with all sorts of environmental post hoc rationalizations. And they're trying to avoid any sort of biological essentialism. And in all terms, it's wishful thinking. And practically, is that the skeptic community are refusing. I mean, what is this? You know, like, if I'm going to impregnate a woman, I'm pretty sure that a human baby is going to come out. I don't think that she's going to lay eggs and an alligator will fall out. You know, this hyper individualism that they're trying to espouse, it only works for those in the top of the hierarchy when you're in a multicultural, diverse country, and for the rest of people, it's bullshit. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Civilization is, it's a team sport. And this whole skeptic idea of, I'm not going to have any convictions, I'm not going to have any opinions, I am a hyper individual, I am this person that is above the fray. I mean, yeah, fine, but that doesn't generally work in a society, especially one that's, you know, circling the drain the way ours is. And it's, in my estimation, it's a cop out, and it's a way to basically keep your ass floating in the wind until you feel that you're going to have to make a commitment to one side or the other. It's a coward's way out, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and this is why with each of these videos that I made replying to Kraut's videos, I emphasized at the end, in the time that Kraut has been making his videos against the alt-right, X number of refugees have arrived in Europe. I think it started with 30,000, and then by the last one it was 75,000.
Yeah.
And I calculated that as accurately as I could. Because this is the thing, you know, while he pontificates and fence sits and, you know, just jerks off at how cleverly egalitarian he is, this is going on. This is going on. His civilization, which enables him to be so comfortable and decadent, is being destroyed.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know. The thing. You can argue. You can argue points of economics. You can excuse me. I told you I was sorry before we got onto the stream. I'm having a little bit of trouble speaking properly. I've got a bit of a tongue tied here. I think I told you before. The thing is that the only way these sorts of opinions are able to exist is because they're existing on the fumes of a society that's burnt out. We're burning fumes at this point, and unless people start understanding that we are literally in a life and death struggle, literally, then all of this basically mental flatulence is going to be all for naught. And until people realize that, then you know, there's very little you can say, and it's hard to take people it's hard to take them even seriously, to be honest, at some points.
Yes, indeed. It does. It becomes exasperating because you're trying to get through to them about how they're wrong, they're pissing around, and they happen to be doing it regarding an issue that is of critical importance to the way we live. And you know, it's just fucking annoying. But anyway, I don't know what Kraut is going to do now. It will be interesting to see how he moves on from this.
I don't know. I don't know how. I mean, the only thing I think that he should do, and if he does listen to this, it's not that I dislike the guy. I do dislike the fact that I was being part of the quote unquote task force that was trying to take down the alt-right, which, as you know, I don't identify as. As I've said many times, I'm an ally too, but I don't identify as alt-right. There's certain things that I just don't. And we've talked about this before. But yeah, if he is listening to this, my only suggestion would be, I don't dislike you. I don't think you're a bad person. I think you're a very misguided person. And the thing is you're not going to win anything from this. This is not a hill worth dying on and destroying all of your, all of your reputation that you've built up over the years that you've had your thing. And the one question you have to ask yourself is, what are you gaining from this? What are you gaining? And if you're not, I mean, this is a very simple question. What are you gaining?
Well, I think it started as a sort of puritanical, well, I think he wanted to punish us for being racial hierarchy, whatever the opposite of egalitarians is. I think it was also an ego thing, because he felt that Rage After Storm had made a fool of him. And instead of realizing that it was his own actions that had made a fool of him, he sort of blamed it on her and also the alt-right. So that was what he thought he would gain from this. He thought he would gain revenge from it. And so he put a lot of effort into making these 4 videos against the alt-right on race realism, which backfired one after another. And now this has happened. Actually, one thing I would say about this server business, they've also got a channel on me as well. And from what I can tell, the contents of that channel on me does not relate in any way to anything that I've said about race realism. So it's specifically stuff posted by Spinosaurus, truly delightful YouTuber who I didn't even know
I'm not
still
familiar with him.
identified.
I've only heard of him and that he's some kind of piece of
he's
shit.
awful.
Is all I've heard.
He's
I'm not familiar with him though. Yeah.
Imagine if you could crossbreed a skeptic with a MGTOW. And
it's an abortion waiting to happen.
You know, it's an abortion that should have happened.
Should have happened,
but
yeah.
No, sorry, I shouldn't say that. But he's just a very unpleasant individual, and even more puritanical than Crowd, to be honest.
Okay.
He's very, very black and white. I mean, Crowd, you know, people say that Crowd's not intelligent. I think he is. I think that's unfair.
I think he is as well.
Yeah. And they also make fun of his English, which I don't think is fair either. His English is a lot better than, you know, a lot of English speakers will speak German. You know, he's got a fine grasp of English. But and to get back to Spinosaurus, who's now called Alternative Facts, he's just a nasty, vengeful little shit. And you know, he made a video saying that this is like, when was it? It was just, yes, it was during last year's millennial. So it was like a year ago right now. He made a video saying that I advocate violence. And he was twisting things that I've said, because I've said that violence is inevitable, that civil war is coming, and that ethno-states, if they will be achieved at all, will only be achieved as a result of those civil wars. And I made a video, Peaceful Ethno-Nationalism, explaining why there would, you know, ethno-nationalism would not come about through peaceful means. Now, that was not to say be violent. I was saying it's going to happen. Yeah. And it's just, this is the reality of it. But he twisted this to say that I was advocating violence. Now, on the server, the channel on me consists solely of a couple of posts by him talking about that.
Right.
And saying that I'm being evasive on, you know, this. So he's obviously still determined to go for this. That, you know, that Millennial Woes is an advocate of racial violence. Now, first of all, he's beating a dead horse. But the more important thing, the more interesting thing, is that this has nothing to do with race realism. So it doesn't, you know, if the server is about beating the alt-right on race realism, then why is that there? And also, another thing is, if the server is for beating the alt-right on race realism or on any particular issue, then why do they have channels on particular people instead of on particular issues?
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely.
You know, that in itself
where there's smoke, there's fire. And it stinks to high heaven, this entire debacle that is the task force. The task force. I like saying that. It rolls off the tongue. No, absolutely. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And the thing is if you want to even look at this, are they going to now turn on Charles Murray? Are they going to turn on Sam Harris? Both of them acknowledge that there are differences between groups of people, and that doesn't mean you can't take people individually and give respect to people individually. But the thing is for example, if you want to take a look at the outcomes of countries, it's a very good thing to do, for anyone can do, and you can find this information in a multitude of places, is you take a look at a map that is colored for average IQ of a country. So you have, let's say, Japan, that's about 104 to 105, I believe, maybe 106. Eastern China, probably the same. Europe, I think, goes between 99 to 100, pretty much. I think North America is the same, Australia is the same. And then you go down to, for example, I think it's Australian Aborigines, and I think it might be Botswana, where you find people in the high 50s. And
oh my God.
Yeah, then you correlate, those. What you do is you take that map and you overlay that map with another map that's color coded toward Human Development Index and GDP per capita, or per capita GDP, excuse me. And you'll find that they're almost identical. There's no magical formula in the ground of a country. You want to take a look at a country, take a look at Japan. That country gets rattled the shit out of almost every year, not almost every year, every year without exception by major problems, major disasters, whether it be typhoons, volcanoes, hurricanes, tsunamis, earthquakes, what have you. It has no natural resources of any kind, none. Like, they've got nothing, and they have to import 70% of their food. They have to import all of their resources in order to then build stuff to export. But the country is one of the wealthiest in the world. Now, juxtapose that to a country that's, say, filled with natural resources, but living hand-to-mouth existences. It's not the land. It's not the resources that somehow some sort of elixir or ether in the land that creates the country. It's the people that create the country. So if you wanted to take, let's say, so I mean, the thing is that this is not some, what I'm trying to say to you is that this is not some out there idea. I mean, even mainstream leftists like Sam Harris acknowledge that this is the reality of the situation. Academics like Charles Murray, he does too. But they also, both of them, especially Sam Harris, reject politics because it goes against their ethical nature or their ethical compass, and that's fine. You know, that's for a person to choose. But the idea that none of this can be quantified, none of this can be observed because you can't find the fucking gene that tells you what does this. I mean, like I said, I'm pretty sure that if I get a woman pregnant, she's not going to birth an alligator. Yeah,
it's just sheer autism. And I know that some people don't like the use of that word. It's annoying because it's a very useful word to use in this context. But let's put it, chronic pedantry. That might be sufficient to describe it. It's just like missing the point as many times as possible.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's not intellectually honest. You know, that's dishonest to miss the point as many. And
well, it's pretty much the breadth and scope of the entire skeptic TM community. I mean, I to be honest, can't watch their stuff because I find it all if they are actually looking for the truth, if they are skeptical, if they are intellectually curious, then they would come to certain understandings of things that pretty much anyone with 2 eyes, 2 ears, and even like an Aboriginal IQ could figure out. And that is that comes around. And the thing is if you can't, then you're being intellectually dishonest for your ideology. And at least say that. Somebody like Sam Harris, he'll say it. I mean, he acknowledges it, but he won't accept it. And he's doing it for his ideology. Just, be intellectually honest.
Yeah. Don't pretend that the reality is something which it is not.
Yeah.
But what I always wonder is how can they justify the claim that they're making is that the races are all equal intellectually. And I would ask them, that is surely the more preposterous notion. So when are they going to provide any evidence for that? When are they going to provide a scientific explanation for it, an evolutionary explanation for it, and real world, current year evidence for it? Because there isn't any.
No.
There is no reason to believe that the races are intellectually equal, except that you want them to be. It's just fucking sheer wishful thing. I mean, it's like saying, well, Santa Claus is real because you haven't proved scientifically that he's not real, so I'll just keep believing. And how dare you try to ruin this idea for me?
Yeah, absolutely. And I leave out fucking cookies and fucking milk every 24th of December. How dare you?